Hey everybody. So we told you big things are happening over here with Canceled Out, and this is one of them. We're going to start offering content like this more often. So if you would like to know more, reach out to us and we'll be happy to explain. I want to forewarn you though, before we get into this, that this video, if you are playing this video in the vicinity of children, don't. Just don't. Even though that this is cleverly disguised as quote-unquote entertainment and quote-unquote educational material for children, it isn't. So let me just give you a minute to either save this video for viewing later, as much as I hate to do that because you're here now, and this information is valuable and pertinent, and a lot of people may forget to come back and watch it, but save this video for watching when you can, away from children, because like I say, the material that we're going to listen to and see in this video is 100% not for children, and 1,000,000,000% not for children of the age group that it is being showed to and being marketed towards. It's so bad. So now that I've given you that minute to kind of take care of that, imagine, if you will, a society that has completely lost its mind. A society that wants to sexualize children, while at the same time trying to maintain that they don't actually want to do that. A society that has stripped away all of the moral values and practical teachings that humans have had for thousands of years. We don't have to imagine it, because if you're living in America, you're living it. This is absolutely insane what I'm about to show you. This comes from the Daily Wire, this story. And parents at New York City's elite private Dalton School have come out in force against videos dealing with the topic of masturbation that were shown to their, hear me now, first grade children, 6 years old, introducing them to masturbation in school. Now, my stance is public education and private education alike sex ed should not be a thing. I'm sorry, as a parent, it is incumbent upon you to have that discussion with your children, not their quote-unquote educators, not their school, not anybody else. Or at the very least, you should be the first one to have that conversation with them before anybody else. As far as I'm concerned, education, quote-unquote, the education system has no part and should have no part in any of this to begin with. It's not. This is not an area to where they should be teaching anything, especially something like this, which comes down to a moral teaching, and we're going to discuss that. This is actual religion, and I really don't think anymore that you can dispute that. I mean, quite honestly, how can you dispute it anymore? So, people who send their kids to this Dalton School in New York City pay $55,000 a year. $55,000 a year to have this kind of quote unquote educational material taught to their children. Now again, be prepared. This is insanity.
Pass it, Squeaks!
Whoa! Watch it! You almost hit me in the pee-pee!
All right. So, here we have these cute little kids, playing on the playground, and I kick a ball, and you almost hit me in the pee-pee. Okay, great. Nothing wrong with that. This is a typical, kid conversation. Maybe not at 6, maybe at a little bit older, or at least when I was growing up, a little bit older, because at 6 we weren't really concerned with our private parts other than making it to the toilet and then making it in the toilet. But hey, whatever. it still is super weird how this even comes up. They try to normalize it as in like a play setting. Like, who am I to judge, right? I mean, like I say, this is a conversation. This is kind of a normal conversation for kids to have, but in this context, I'm not really buying it. But then all of a sudden, an adult walks up.
What's so funny, you two?
He said pee-pee.
Do you notice that when you say pee-pee, you giggle, but when you say penis, you say it in a serious voice?
I never noticed that before.
Some children and adults feel uncomfortable when they talk about their private parts, so they make up cute or funny names for them.
Okay, so again, this being shown to 6-year-olds. I don't know. Maybe times have changed in the time that I've actually, grown up into an adult. But we didn't really use the anatomical terms for genitalia when I was a kid. Really any name but. But this being an educational, quote-unquote educational video, I guess, they got to breach this, so, or broach this, so.
What's one for a girl's private parts?
Vajayjay! But what does Scoops mean when he says vajayjay?
He means vulva.
That's right, Kayla. It's important to use the proper words for our private parts.
Okay, so if I'm a parent, first of all, whatever the Scoops thing is, get it the crap away from my kid. Because apparently this is a bad influence on my child. Where's that conversation? I mean, but we can't talk about that because that might hurt somebody's feelings, right? And, otherwise this entire conversation, which would never happen in a normal context anyway, would not be happening in the video.
Why?
Because our private parts are just as amazing as our hearts, lungs, brains, or any other of our amazing body parts.
But our hearts pump blood, our lungs breathe, and our brains think.
All our private parts do is pee. That's not entirely true, Scoops. It is true that a person pees or urinates through a hole called the urethra in the penis.
Does everyone have a urethra?
They do. It can be harder to see, but girls have a tiny hole in the front of the vulva where urine comes out from their urethra. Urination is actually very important. It helps us get rid of waste, stuff our body doesn't need.
So is anybody else creeped out by any of this? Any of these drawings of little children completely naked? Anybody? Just me? No? I mean, again, the educational part, you can make the argument that it is a worthwhile discussion to have with your child and of how the body works and everything else. I'm going to argue that 6 is probably way young, and even younger is like just way out of bounds, because there is no practical reason for a child to have this knowledge. If they're questioning it, fine, I get it. But what value? Somebody explain to me what value that a 6-year-old gets from having this conversation. Truly. They don't even know. I mean, at this point, you're learning, you're basically grasping the ability to read, the ability to do math. There are so many more important conversations to be had at 6 years old than this. Again, apart from getting to the toilet and making it in the toilet, that's really all that these kids relate to. They don't relate to anything sexual at 6 years old. And if they do, then you need to really step up and be a parent, because somebody's having an influence on your kids. Somebody's sexualizing your child. So that's a different issue in the first place. But here's where things really go off the rails.
Hey, how come my penis gets big sometimes and points up in the air?
That's called an erection.
Sometimes I touch my penis because it feels good.
Sometimes when I'm in my bath or when Mom puts me to bed, I like to touch my vulva too.
You have a clitoris there, Kayla, that probably feels good to touch the same way Keith's penis feels good when he touches it. But have you ever noticed that older kids and grown-ups don't touch their private parts in public?
They don't?
That's right, Keith. It's okay to touch yourself and see how different body parts feel, but it's best to only do it in private.
Well, if private parts are so special, why do you cover them up?
Because they are private, silly.
That's right, Kayla, because they are private.
Hey, Squeaks, pass it.
Wait! Okay, I'm ready!
Okay. Dear Lord. I mean, come on, right? Come on. Give me a break. This is all part of the Amaze curriculum. And they have a YouTube channel and where this video was actually found. It's all about basically indoctrinating your child into leftist sex ed. I mean, let's look at some of the videos. We have what is sexual harassment? What are STDs? Ooh, you can even go with the anatomy classes. Assigned sex at birth for males and females. Assigned sex, not biology. Assigned sex. Gender roles and stereotypes. Or the top signs girls are in puberty. I'm just reading the titles off of their YouTube page of their videos. Like, this is insanity. And did you notice in the video where the adult, quote unquote adult in this, said that, you know, we touch ourselves in private? Why? I mean, what's the difference if you touch yourself in private or in public, other than the obvious, you know, situational context? But if you're going to teach kids that it's okay in the first place, not only that, if this child comes from a religious upbringing whatsoever, they're taught this is exactly opposite as to what they're what they're taught. I don't know of any major religion that teaches that it's okay for masturbation. Christianity, Judaism, Muslim, I don't know, and none of the three top mainstream religions in the world teach this. But yet you want to teach my child in school that this is okay at 6 years old? 6. But see, it doesn't stop there. This is only the tip of the iceberg. If you were a kid from the 90s and grew up in the 90s, like myself, you remember Blue's Clues, right? If you don't, let's just walk down memory lane for a minute.
Great. We gotta find a paw print, that's the first clue. We put it in a notebook, and now what do we do? Blue's Clues, Blue's Clues. We gotta find another paw print, that's...
All right, right? Remember Steve in the ugly freaking green stripes? That was the Blue's Clues of yesteryear, though. Blue's Clues came on in like 96, I believe, and actually saved Nickelodeon and saved their young children's programming from like Nick Jr. is what they called it. I just watched a documentary about it on Hulu or something. This is why I know this, because they talked about the 90s being like the quote unquote orange years for Nickelodeon, and Nickelodeon being at its height. Blue's Clues used to be children's programming, but Steve left in 2002, and then they got, I think his name is Josh. I have kids this age, so this is why I am concerned with this kind of stuff as a parent, and this is why I'm kind of in this subculture type of thing right now. This is why I have this knowledge. And so Blue's Clues this year has just decided to go full on woke. And this isn't the first time, as I understand, that something like this has happened with Blue's Clues. But this by far is the one that's getting the most attention, and is so cringeworthy that it pains me to watch this. Pains me, okay? So be prepared. Hold on to your butts, because it's about to get super weird and inappropriate.
Hey, Blue, look at all these families! Hi, families! It's time for a pride parade. Families marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah. Families marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah. This family has two mommies, they love each other so proudly, and they all go marching in the big parade. Families marching marching 2 by 2, hurrah, hurrah. Families marching 2 by 2, hurrah, hurrah. This family has 2 daddies, they love each other so proudly, and they all go marching in the big parade. Come on, friends! Families marching 3 by 3, hurrah, hurrah. Families marching 3 by 3, hurrah, hurrah. These Babas are non-binary, they love each other so proudly, and they all go marching in the big parade. Families marching 4 by 4, hurrah, hurrah. Families marching 4 by 4, hurrah, hurrah. Trans members of this family all love each other so proudly, and they all go marching in the big parade. Come join the fun! Families marching 5 by 5, hurrah, hurrah. Families marching 5 by 5, hurrah, hurrah. Some people choose their family, they love each other so proudly, and they all go marching in the big parade. Families marching 6 by 6, hurrah, hurrah. Families marching 6 by 6, hurrah, hurrah. Ace, Bi, and Pan grown-ups, you see, can love each other so proudly, and they all go marching in the big parade. Oh yeah! Families marching 7 by 7, hurrah, hurrah. Families marching 7 by 7, hurrah, hurrah. All families are made differently, they love each other so proudly, and they all go marching in the big parade. Families marching 8 by 8, hurrah, hurrah. Families marching 8 by 8, hurrah, hurrah. This house is a family of kings and queens, they love each other so proudly, and they all go marching in the big parade. Let's celebrate! Families marching 9 by 9, hurrah, hurrah. Families marching 9 by 9, hurrah, hurrah. Allies to the queer community can love their queer friends so proudly, and they all go marching in the big parade. Families marching 10 by 10, hurrah, hurrah. Families marching 10 by 10, hurrah, hurrah. Love is love, you see, and everyone should love proudly, and we'll all go marching in the big parade. Wow! Thanks, Blue. Happy Pride Month.
Every day we stray further from God's light. My goodness. This is like 3 minutes of a child's program. Blue's Clues is a half an hour program. This is 3 minutes of it. And you saw the whole clip. So let's go through and dissect some of these things, right? You see a parade, and it's obviously to kick off Pride Month, right? Because we can't just have June anymore. We got to have a month for this kind of perversion. And not only that, but we've got to have a drag queen, or somebody who at least looks like a drag queen, which is the person who is voicing this character. Not only this, but so I mean, you have, look at the iconography, right? You have the pride flag, you have the drag queen, but then look at the microphone. Look at the fist on the microphone. Remind you of anything? You can't tell me anymore that you're not targeting my children with this kind of garbage when this is what is on TV. You don't have a leg to stand on anymore. You know, you used to be able to kind of poo-poo and dismiss it when it was the stuff in Disney where, you know, they were suggestive, the way that they drew the cartoons were suggestive and everything like this. You used to be able to kind of like, you're just being a little too sensitive. It is not that way anymore. This is overt. Give me a break. I can't even let my kids watch TV. How crazy is this? So, let's go on. So, of course, they've got to make this fun for kids because it's a sing-along, right? The words are on the screen and you follow the bouncing ball and all this other kind of stuff. And a parade, because what kid doesn't love a parade, right? We have families marching one by one, and this family has 2 mommies. So let's just kick it right off the bat. with a lesbian family. 2 mommies, they love each other so proudly. Now, this is the refrain through the whole song. They love each other so proudly. Like, this is one of these things from the left that it just boggles my mind, that they think that people who don't agree with this lifestyle really care. I do not know personally anybody who actually cares if these 2 quote-unquote women alligator things who are female love each other proudly or not. It's none of my business. And that's the way the people that I know feel about it. This is insane. So who cares that you love each other so proudly? Great. Good for you, I guess. Which this begs a whole lot of other questions. Don't get me wrong. But, we'll leave that for another day. And then you see the different kind of flags. I don't know what the orange and pink flag is, but it's different from the pride flag. Maybe the lesbian flag, because everybody's got a flag now. If you didn't know, like there's a trans flag. I'm assuming this is the lesbian flag. I'm not really versed in it because it's all too weird for me. But we're marching in the big parade, right? And then families marching 2 by 2. But look at the pride flags now. They got the fist on them. Again, this is completely overt. There's no hiding this anymore. So families marching 2 by 2. And this family has 2 daddies. And I'm guessing the blue with the green is the gay flag. They're the homo. It's not gay. I refuse to use gay because that's not what the word gay means. It's homosexuality. But you can't. Everything is so. You have to separate everything out now. That you just can't call it just homosexuality. So I guess this is the gay flag. So they have 2 daddies. Again, good for you, I guess. Whatever. And then marching 3 by 3. Now this one is where it starts to get real weird. We have families marching 3 by 3. These babas are non-binary. Now, first, I don't know. In my life, a baba was like a bottle or a binky, but these are dolphins, so I don't know. And I guess this is the non-binary flag with the yellow, purple, and black. But not only that, these are non-binary and apparently disabled dolphins. You can't make it up, people. You really can't. But they love each other so proudly too, and they're marching in the parade. Then we get to 4 by 4 with the I think they're the trans beaver family with the trans flag. I know this is the trans flag with the blue, pink, and white. That was something I was recently introduced to. But trans beavers now. I mean, everybody loves the trans beaver family. Again, this is being marketed to kids, people. Kids. I wouldn't care if you had told me that this was college level type stuff. I would not care at all. The fact that this is on cable television in a children's program. Kids as young as 2 and 3 watch this show. This is where I have the problem with it. So then the trans beavers are marching in the parade too. And then 5 is some people choose their family. So if you don't like your family, then you can choose your own family too. Which I shouldn't be laughing because it's sad. And this is part of an aspect of life. But give me a break. Kids watching this show. What? This is how you normalize things in our society now. You can't just ram it through somewhere. You have to start from the ground up. You know who also did that? Do you remember him in the 30s in Germany? Where did he start? With the youth. So 5 is some people choose their family and they love each other so proudly. And then 6, what's 6? Oh, ace, bi, and pansexuals. So ace is actually a term used for asexual people. Bi is obviously bisexual and pan is pansexual, with all the associated flags. Do you really think a child has any idea what a pansexual is? I'll give here, spoiler alert, they don't. But yet, we want to normalize this in society, so we got to throw this in front of the kids' faces. And then parents who don't pay attention, or parents who don't have an interest in their children, let this crap go. And then this is why we end up with the people we have in society now. I mean, it's literally just that simple. So 7, and have you noticed that we're also teaching kids how to count? So there is quote unquote educational value to this. This is how it works, everybody. Families are made differently. So this 7 illustrates, hey, you don't have to be of even the same species, and you can still love each other. So I guess, next up to normalize is like loving animals, like loving animals in the creepy way and disgusting way. So then 8 is a family of kings and queens. I mean, this is a common term that is used by men and to refer to men and women, at least in the circles that I've run in, for lack of a better term. And the reason why I don't like this terminology is, one, you're not a king, you're not a queen. We live in America. We haven't cared about kings and queens since 1776. But on top of that, this really plays into giving people an inflated ego. And I don't really like that. I'm all for self-confidence and everything else. But not only that, too, we want to say that we want to make an issue of women's empowerment and things like this. Well, okay, so a woman's supposed to call a male a king? Well, doesn't that kind of make her subservient? Aren't we supposed to be against that? I'm just asking the questions. And you say, oh, well, she's a queen. She's equal. Oh, well, then here, let's open a book about monarchies, and you show me where a queen was equivalent to the king. Because there's very few situations where the queen is actually elevated above the king. You're still incorrect, because one is always higher on the hierarchy than the other in either situation. They're never co-equal. And that's also against religious teaching. Christianity, for sure. Judaism, for sure. So you can't tell me that you're equal. But also, the other reason why I don't like this phraseology is because it kind of, and this may be why it's used, I don't know for sure, but it kind of leaves you with drag queen and that kind of stuff. And if king is used somewhere for women dressing like a man, I don't know. But it leaves that kind of taste in my mouth. And so this is 8. And then 9. Oh, yes, 9. 9 is arguably the most important people, because 9 are the allies to the queer community. Now, we have to have these people because we got to have everyone else except us for who we are, right? We have to have those people who are tolerant accept us. So the allies, the people who accept us for who we are. This is so painful, but yet this is so infuriating at the same time, because this crap is being marketed to children. I can't underscore that enough. Children. And the allies can love their queer friends so proudly. Folks, when is enough going to be enough? When? Please, watch out for your kids. We've been hitting on this for weeks now about CRT in school, indoctrinating children, and now this. It's very few things that make me speechless. This is one of them. And at the same time, I'm just fuming, because there's very few things in this world that will get me more upset than adults projecting this kind of crap into kids' lives. These are not subjects that 6-year-olds or that even younger than 6-year-olds should be dealing with, should be talked to about. Let the kids be kids. You know, that used to be a thing. They've got the rest of their life to figure this kind of garbage out. But they've got a small period of time, a short period of time to be a kid. Stop screwing with these people. Because guess what? Kids are people. And stop trying to mold them into whatever it is that social experiment trend of the month that this crap is. I don't know when. I really am intrigued to see when people are finally going to say enough is enough and something needs to change. Truly, I fear for my children every single day in the world that they're going to grow up in the world that if God chooses to give me grandchildren, that they will grow up in. Because the world, just in my lifetime, and not even lifetime, I mean, we're talking 15, 20 years, is vastly different. We definitely didn't talk about this at 6 years old or at younger than 6 years old. We didn't even talk about this stuff really until high school, at least where I was from. And even then, it wasn't talked about in an academic way. Folks, I just hope that you are staying engaged and involved in your children's school. If you choose to keep them in a public school, please be active and engaged, because these people do not care anything about what you have to say about anything. You know, the complaint a lot of times in Christian groups and churches and stuff is, well, you know, my child got away from church and doesn't come to church anymore. And the thing I always look at first, and it's not always an indicator, and I'm not saying it's always an indicator, but the thing I look at first is, okay, did they go to a public school? Did they go to college? Because I went to a public school, and I know what I was taught, and the things that I was taught even then that were not this overt and sexual and anything else. I know that the things that I was taught then even took me away from church for a period of time. So you can't really tell me that this kind of stuff may drive an even larger number of people away from church and everything and cause divisions in families, because it's completely undermining what you are trying to instill in your children, as is your right as a parent at home. The saying goes, well, you can't send your kids to Rome and expect them not to become Romans. Rome being the school. If maybe you were skeptical about that before, are you now? I don't really think you have room to be anymore. So let's wrap this up. Where do we go from here, guys? What do we do? What is going to cause you to get up and start taking this seriously? Because I'm going to tell you something right now. The other side has taken it seriously for years. That's why we got to this point. If you're still of the opinion of, well, okay, I'll just not let my kids watch this or whatever else. Okay, fine. Like, that's a great first step. But what is it going to take for you to get up and get active to make change? What's it going to take? We're talking about the life and the mind of your child. That this crap is being shoved in front of their faces, is being shoved down their throats. They're being told that if you've been taught something different by your family, by your parents, they're wrong. We are the teachers. We know better. And it may not be said in those words, but that is the absolute implication. I've seen it firsthand. I've experienced it. You're not going to sit there and tell me I'm wrong. If this doesn't make your blood boil, I really am concerned with you, especially if you have kids. If you're going to be a parent that actually loves their children and cares for their children and looks out for their well-being and is a real parent, this is the kind of stuff you contend with. I hope this was informative for you. I'm trying not to be super down, but I'm just so angry, and I'm trying not to be emotional. I'm trying to come at this with a level head and trying to be somewhat fact-based with it, but my goodness, is that difficult when so much is at stake. But I hope that you will take this information, share it around, and share it around to all your other parents, share it around to your friends, family. We've got to do better to take care of our kids. This doesn't belong in a children's program. You cannot make that argument. You cannot logically and rationally make that argument to me. This is pure religious indoctrination. That's all that it is. If you can, I suggest you get your kids and yank these kids out of school, out of public school, as fast as you possibly can. Some private schools clearly are not even better, are not any better, as parents of the Dalton School in New York City are finding out. They're spending $55,000 a year for their kids to be taught that kind of stuff. So a private school is not necessarily the answer anyway. Another form of education that we had is charter schools, and we talked with Jed Hartings not too long ago about Cincinnati Classical Academy. That's not going to be open until next year. So, but once that is open, it may be a good alternative. You won't find this crap there, I'm sure. I know you won't. We'll talk soon, I'm sure. I'm sure something else is going to happen before long. And while you're gone, please, I guess I can't even say don't destroy the culture, because this is part of it. This is truly part of destroying the culture. I don't know how else you term this, honestly. So maybe I should change the sign off to this. Please fight for the culture.